Hey, hello everybody. This is Co-Pastor Gail M. Gilmore from Grace and Twine Ministries in Portsmouth, Virginia. Some of you know me as Gigi. I come on the Jim Nugget channel and Monday through Friday, and I try to encourage you to get your exercise on. I also do a program on Saturdays called "How Would Jesus Invest? Breaking the Poor Man's Mentality." And I'm sitting here. This is a Saturday evening here in the 757. We just had a snowstorm earlier this week. The snow is melting slowly outside. But, I'm just sitting here this Saturday evening. There's some downtime. And you know, there's a lot of things that's been on my mind, especially the 4 weeks since we've been under this presidency under Donald Trump. And y'all know it's been like every day, it's just been some type of chaos and things and stuff going on with the government. It looks like it's something new every day. But the latest thing is yesterday he fired the four-star chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, C.Q. Brown, not because C.Q. Brown did anything wrong or anything has done his job impeccably, but because of this DEI situation, this foolishness, and it's just affecting everything. And this whole thing, we're ending up Black History Month and so forth. And I know for a lot of us, it's bothering us, whether you're Black or white, but especially us as African Americans. But as I was looking at TV this evening, I listened to one of my favorite ministers, TV ministers, and Dr. Jamal Harrison-Bryant of New Birth Missionary Baptist Church in Georgia. He has always come across to me as possibly another Martin Luther King Jr. Matter of fact, he went to Morehouse, where Dr. Martin Luther King also attended. That was the only school that he wanted to go to. And do you know that Dr. Jamal Harrison-Bryant is the only person that went to Morehouse after getting a GED? But he is a powerful leader. As a matter of fact, he's leading a movement. And if you go online, you'll see all these different places where he's called for a boycott, of places like Target and Walmart, Amazon, and different places like that, different times during the next month or so. But he had a message this evening. Oh my goodness. And I just want you to listen to it. And the name of it is Faith Around and Do Something. Faith Around and Do Something. And it's the part that he's really honing in is about doing something. We can sit around and talk about what's going on and complain about what's going on. But the thing that the enemy is afraid of is two things. Is that if we come together in unity and work together, he knows it's nothing that we can do. And then, especially us as African Americans, we have about $2 trillion in spending power. We are big consumers. And he talks about that also on here. But the part is because, during Dr. Martin Luther King's time, of course, marching and all of that, but also Dr. King knew that the way you really affect people is through the money. And that's why the boycott on the buses was so effective. We wasn't paying to ride the bus, so change had to take place. But this message just stirred me up, and I know it will stir you too. So I just want you to sit back and listen. And this is Faith Around and Do Something.
The entrance of the gate, and they said to one another, "Why are we just going to sit here until we die?" I want to preach today using as a subject faith around and find out. Faith around and find out. Look at the person beside you, tell them this year, whatever you do, faith around and find out. Amen. Faith around and find out. Former president of my alma mater, Morehouse College, Dr. Benjamin Elijah Mays, once said, the tragedy of life often is not in our failure, but in our complacency. Not in our doing too much, but rather in our doing too little. Not in our living above our ability, but living below our capacity. Some people confuse complacency with laziness, but they are not the same thing. As there are those who are very busy doing what's comfortable, yet they shy away from what's challenging. Complacency slips lingerie around time and seduces you into believing there's nothing else to do, or that you've done all there is to do. You should never confuse a quicksand with a mud bath. While both are warm and relaxing, before you realize it, you have drowned in past achievement. You are not called to be complacent, but to be more than conqueror. Whatever you do, don't get satisfied because you won the battle. This is now the hour that you have got to win the war. I stand before you this morning because I am concerned at how lackadaisical the country has become. We've allowed a Fox newscaster to become Secretary of Defense, a man who can't practice medicine without a pardon to be nominated Secretary of Health. We have a shadow president by the name of Elon Musk, who is operating government efficiency with no approval from Congress or budget to support that department, and yet now he has access to all of our private records. And nobody is saying anything. We've elected a president with 34 felonies who released 1,500 convicted thugs who desecrated the flag that they hold so dear, threatened members of Congress, assault law enforcement, and yet black men can't get a job or an apartment because of a stain on their record. And nobody is saying anything on the merits of moving the box off applications. Evangelicals, we already know how you feel about black people. But when Bishop Marion Bood prayed at the inauguration and asked for mercy on the poor and the marginalized, the least you could have done is stood right with her when the president defamed her ordination, her assignment, and her denomination. Micah 6:8 says to act justly and to seek mercy. And there are people who don't understand that your energies are misguided. I don't need you to fight me. I need you to fight for me. Don't fight me, fight with me. And you do all of that, and the Christian community still has not stood with this courageous woman of God. They're trying, even as we speak, to dismantle the Department of Education. They're dismantling the Department of Education while American students are 24th in science. We are 38th in math. 40% of all U.S. citizens, 40% of all U.S. citizens are not able to read on their level. They're making it illegal for Black history to be incorporated in the curriculum. Black teachers are being targeted if they teach our authentic history. There's a direct correlation between education and economics. And as a consequence, you need to be alert and spry as they are trying to dismantle Pell Grants. The reason why that's important is 80% of Black college students who are currently enrolled are the recipients of Pell Grants. And if Pell Grants are taken away, the larger question beyond our students being in the classroom is what will be the state for the future of HBCUs. And yet we're not saying anything. A mind is a terrible thing to waste is a catchy slogan, but it is about to become our reality, and we're falling asleep at the wheel. They have now made it legal. While it is that you are fighting about TikTok, arguing about love and hip hop, you don't even understand the crisis that we are in. Irv Gotti died just last week, an icon of the music industry for those of us who came through in the 90s, and nobody is giving any conversation that 3 out of 4 Black men have pre-diabetes. Our Black men are dying right around us, and we're not saying anything about it. They made it legal to invade churches while worship is taking place. And while schools are conducting classrooms in search allegedly for undocumented immigrants. And in the same breath, they have just signed that it is okay for white South Africans to enter the country without going through the exact rigmarole that Black South Africans have to go through, and yet we're not saying anything. You really not gonna say nothing that last week 300 Black women in the Congo were raped? You not gonna say nothing that 1,000 Black people were killed in the Congo? You ain't gonna say nothing about nothing? You're not motivated about anything. You're not angry about anything. You're not pushed towards anything about you except anything that involves your household, and you don't realize your whole house is about to catch on fire. I don't know how it is that you got time to talk about everybody else in everybody else's business, but you ain't got time to go to God in prayer. Nothing moves you. For what you have seen in the last 3 weeks with almost 300 executive orders and all of the strides that our ancestors tried to make for the advancement of this country, and you ain't gonna say nothing? You are prepared to spend all of your money on cowboy carded tickets when the average Black family doesn't have $500 in the bank. You ain't upset about nothing? White supremacy is banking on your complacency. They are banking on you being so complacent about your car, your bag, your shoes, that you don't see the whole community is imploding around you. That's why Target, Walmart, McDonald's, Ford, Lowe's is about to have a wake-up call, because whenever it is that Black people organize and mobilize, there is nothing that we go after that we don't succeed in. I'm telling you, the only weapon they got against us is division. As long as we fight each other and do not walk together, we are always going to be defeated. Look at us with your crazy self, fighting over who's an Omega and who's a Delta. And if you ain't that, you talking about you need to renounce both of them. Look at you fighting over who Baptist and who AME. Look at you fighting about who in the suburbs and who in the city. Look at you fighting over who light skinned and who dark skinned. Look at you fighting over silly self. You better get yourself together and walk together, children, and not get weary. America getting ready to faith around and find out. Target underestimated our spending power. We are the 12th wealthiest nation in the world with over $2 trillion worth of spending power. Target said that they're not backing up, they're not slowing down, they're not letting up. But ladies and gentlemen, in the last week, their stock has dropped by $11. Because when black people got a mind to do something significant, we broke the Montgomery bus system, and we are about to break down Target and Walmart. Faith around and find out. I remember hearing about how in 2 Kings chapter 7, how the stock market crashed and food insecurity was rampant. On top of that, warfare was afoot all around. Then lo and behold, in the middle of this fiscal crisis, in the midst of this militaristic invasion, we find 4 black men who were diagnosed with an incurable disease with no health coverage. They felt overwhelmed because there seemed to be no hope on the horizon, making their doom appear unavoidable, until one of them came up with the epiphany. Are we just gonna sit here and die? Are we gonna sit here and do nothing? Are we gonna sit here and just watch the news? Are we just gonna be stressed out over every alert? All of them made up in their mind, if we sit here, we gonna die. Ladies and gentlemen, I gotta tell you this, you are your ancestors' prayer answered. And they looking at you, waiting to see, are you just gonna sit there? Come on, y'all ain't saying nothing, and you just gonna act like none of this is happening? What legacy are you gonna leave for your great-grandchildren? What are you gonna leave for those who are looking at you to see what are you doing at this critical juncture in history? Are you gonna do anything? I need you to look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor, I can't just sit here and die. You can't just sit there talking about, here it is, what you can't do. And I'm tired of our people always talking about what they can't do. Always talking about, I can't work for somebody else. Well, if you can't, go start a business. You always complaining about you hate your job. Well, put in an application somewhere else. You don't like being by yourself, but you always in the house. You complain about a toxic relationship, but you won't break it off. You always talking about, I don't feel nothing when I go to church. Well, did you bring any fire for yourself? You gotta contribute something. Martin Luther King Jr. said, faith is taking the first step when you can't see the staircase. In Matthew 14, verse 24 through 26, the disciples were in a ship and a storm broke out. And all the disciples were in a panic looking for life preserver jackets. But Peter was resolved, I'm not going to stay on this sinking ship. I'm going to go out to where Jesus is before it capsizes. And says, Master, if that's you, let me go to where it is that you are. I don't know where you are, but some of you are going to drown because you're just trying to go where the money resides. I want to go where the glory hovers. If there's anybody here that knows if I can walk with God through this season, no weapon formed against me shall be able to prosper. I'm hiding in the secret of his tabernacle. I got some spectators on your row, but if they're for you that want to get connected to the glory of God, I dare you to lift up your hand and open up your mouth. God, let me be where you are. I want to be in your presence. I want to be in the shadow of the Almighty. I want to be in the Holy of Holies. You are not Tom Cruise. So you got to participate in risky business. It trumps complacency when you make a move. And I got to ask you, Negroes, I got to ask you in 2025, I got to ask you, what's stopping you from making a move? Your grandparents had to deal with fire hoses and dogs and being spit on and being jailed and having their houses burned and being run out of town and being shot and being castrated and being raped. And you mean the only thing that's stopping you from making a move is fools in the comment section of Instagram? You better get yourself together and do something. I need you to look at the person beside you and say, you ain't gonna sit around me and not do nothing. This is the year that we don't just remember our history. This is the year that we gonna make history. Your soundtrack gotta be, before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. You gotta do something. Whoever doesn't want to build has to be blocked. Super bad sister at 4'5", leading the Underground Railroad, said I had to take a Bible and a gun. Y'all ain't saying nothing, because if they go back, they're gonna risk all of us getting caught. No time for fake ones. I need everybody in this season 10 toes down. That make up in your mind. I don't care what they say. I don't care what law they pass. I don't care how the Senate goes to sleep. A new movement is about to start, and I'm glad to be a part of it. If that's your testimony, make some noise right now that this is your cease. I need you to take your neighbor's hand and say, neighbor, we gotta shout like we got faith. Don't scream. If you don't think God is gonna move, don't open up your mouth. If you don't think things are gonna turn around, but if you give him glory late in the midnight hour, God is gonna turn it around. It's gonna work in your favor. God is gonna turn it around. Hey. Hallelujah. Hey. Hey. You made me say this. I'm coming around the mountain with no musicians, no organ, no drum, no keyboard. When they moved in the enemy's camp, they didn't have any instruments. All they had was their mouth and their feet. God said, when you give me glory, it ain't for cars and money, but you're giving me glory because you need to back your enemies up, because they've been thinking that they got authority over your life. If you ain't fighting no system, if you ain't fighting no structure, you ain't got to shout with us. But if I got 4 radical praises, this is your hour to open up your mouth and give God glory like he's able. Now unto him who's able to keep you from falling, to present you faultless before the throne of grace. Make you rest, make you rule, make you abide with each and every one of you. Grab that neighbor's hand. Say, neighbor, if you shout today, whatever's sick in your body is about to be healed. If you shout today, whatever money you need is about to be supplied. If you shout today, whatever's in your family is about to be turned up.